Hello, Orchard Archivers, and thanks so much for joining us here today on the Caramel Apples podcast, where the topic is rarely about apples. I'm Kennedy Rizzo,
And I'm Cooper Lee.
and we have a sweet treat for you this week, and where we'll be discussing the renowned, infamous Grammy award winning recording artist, Billy Ocean. Are you ready to travel back in time and unlock your memories? We sure are. We're going all in. So, how's it going for you today, Cooper? I know you're beaming with excitement as we get ready to revisit some of the personal experiences and timeless tracks of one of your personal favorite recording artists from the 80s, Billy Ocean.
Yes, and that is quite an understatement. I'm so excited. I'm doing really good. And, I'm ready to go back and enjoy some of the history linked to the fond memories queued up by Billy Ocean's hits back then.
Me too.
Not only on familiar things and issues in pop culture, but also the memories we had and made on a personal level, as we heard many of his classics during that time.
Oh, yes. And I know you requested we look into his colorful musical history, so it's cool we're taking the time to dive in to do just that today.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it amazing how a song can instantly unlock the retro files of your mind that you weren't initially thinking of or could even remember?
Oh, yeah.
But once you hear that certain song, like clockwork, it all comes filtering back to you right away.
You said it, Kennedy. Much, much agreed. Traveling back and revisiting in our minds with anything retro is such a refreshing trek for nostalgia. And it's largely because when this process happens, it instantly takes us back to a time that was so much more fun and carefree.
Definitely.
I realize that may not have been some people's experience back then, but then again, it actually was for a lot of us.
Oh, so true, Cooper. And the things we discuss each week on our podcast is really meant to provide that clear space for those of us who do remember and cherish memories from those awesome decades of the 70s and 80s and having a bit of much needed retro fun versus what we currently deal with on the day to day.
Yeah. Uh, can we say this nutty pandemic?
Exactly.
When the going gets tough.
The tough get going. Exactly that. So, on that note, let's get going on this most fascinating artist, shall we?
Yes, let's.
Okay.
So, Billy Ocean is a Trinidadian British recording artist who turned out a string of R&B international pop hits in the 70s and 80s. Billy Ocean is, of course, his professional moniker, which we'll briefly address that backstory on how that came to be.
That's right, we sure will. So, Billy Ocean was born Leslie Sebastian Charles on January 21st, 1950, in Fyzabad, Trinidad and Tobago. But he and his family moved to Romford, England when he was just 10 years old.
Hmm.
Ocean's father was a Grenadian musician, and it was around this same time in his tender years that Billy Ocean was exposed and drawn to his intense love of music. As a calypso-crazed youngster, he mentored and looked up to heavy-hitter soul singers like Nat King Cole, Otis Redding, and Sam Cooke. So it's of no surprise that during his teenage years, London was the epicenter of the pop music universe, and he absorbed his fresh surroundings like a sponge. He regularly sang in London clubs as well.
Oh, wow. So it's quite clear that Billy Ocean is very vocally talented, but at this point, he's still Leslie Charles. So let's reveal how he came into this stage name and when and how that was introduced professionally.
Okay.
Okay. In an interview a few years back, there actually was a slight mix up or misunderstanding on how he initially acquired his stage name. It was first believed that he had taken his stage name from the local Ocean Estate, Stepney, in London's East End, where he was living at the time.
Okay.
And if you actually heard that original account, it doesn't seem too far fetched or odd.
Uh-uh.
But according to Billy, this fact was not correct. So, what actually transpired was his name as Ocean derived from a local football team that was in his hometown in Trinidad and Tobago,
Okay.
who called themselves Ocean's 11, which makes sense too.
Yeah, it does.
So that was the account Billy shared in setting the record straight on that. And who better would know that other than Mr. Ocean himself? Sounds good to us.
Yeah, it does. It sounds good. It does. And both accounts were very interesting. We had our memories, but sometimes they're very vague and feeble in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
I only say this because as kids, we didn't really look into or even understand the backstory surrounding a lot of people and things back then.
Oh no.
We were just happy to be having a good time and being entertained. So I say this because we were hardcore fans of Billy Ocean. But honestly, didn't realize he was from Trinidad or Tobago.
Mm-mm.
And better yet, didn't realize he was British. I don't know. My lazy kid brain just felt like he was probably just an awesome singer from LA. Oh, I held that vague belief of other famous British pop stars too. Talk about a young mind, small world, and living under a rock. Oh boy.
That's so funny because anytime my hubby and I are talking about our personal histories or our personal memories from back in the 80s, anytime he'll mention something that I don't remember or, can't recollect, he's always like, very affectionately, I might add, saying, "So how was it living under that rock?"
And you're like, fine, since my neighbor was Grover.
That's funny. But true, sometimes on how strong or vague our memories can be. But that's why research is good and Google is our friend.
It is, definitely.
We find out so many vital facts doing research on favorite retro topics and stars.
Yeah, we sure do. So, when did Billy Ocean step into the spotlight as the international pop star we know him to be?
So this is a very good question. Let's get into it.
Okay.
So this is still way before our time and way before our own personal antennas were up.
Mm-hmm.
But between 1976 and 1982, Ocean released 4 albums through his record label GTO.
Okay.
Ironically, it was in 1976 that he recorded his first album titled Leslie Charles.
Oh, that's funny or messed up.
Just kidding. It was titled Billy Ocean.
You're awful, Cooper.
With its first release, single that he released, Love Really Hurts Without You, which charted at number 2 on the UK singles chart and number 22 in the US on Billboard Hot 100. As Sony Music acquired GTO Records in 1978, Ocean was shifted to Jive from Epic. It was then Billy Ocean received a second breakthrough in his career in the early 80s.
Right. So it was then when he signed on to the then independent Jive Records in 1984
Mm-hmm.
that the universal appeal of Billy Ocean's infectious blend of emotive soul along with radio-friendly melodic pop, would turn him into a bona fide international superstar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big contracts, big record labels. We remember Jive and Billy Ocean were synonymous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I totally remember the Blue Jive label that donned its well-deserved place on the 45s. Mom strikes again.
Ah, yes, Mom strikes again.
She does.
She again is the responsible culprit for why we cherish music so much.
Facts.
Music literally is like a language that is so powerful and, as you put it, incredibly infectious.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear great music, what is there not to love?
Mm-hmm.
I think we loved and recognized music even before we could talk. Speaking of jive records and 45s, let's get into what we do remember of Billy Ocean's rise to fame.
Okay.
In the fall of 1984, Billy Ocean released his fifth studio album, Suddenly, with quite possibly its most recognizable single, Caribbean Queen,
Oh boy.
showcasing that ever famous synth pop sound. It was his first number one single on both the US Billboard Hot 100 and Hot Black Singles chart in late 1984.
Man, Caribbean Queen was crazy popular.
It really was.
I mean, it was such a huge hit. Um, didn't they do other spin-off versions of this song?
Oh, um,
I mean, if my memory serves me correctly, wasn't there a version named like African Queen and or a couple others?
you know what? Hmm, I don't know. Maybe?
I don't know. Well, I'll have to go check on that.
Okay. Maybe that's something we'll inquire of the Orchard
Oh,
archivers.
yeah, cool.
Hit us up if anyone knows or might remember that. Okay, the album suddenly debuted in the top 10, peaking at number 9 on both the US Billboard 200 and the UK Albums Chart.
Okay.
It reached gold in the UK and was certified double platinum by the RIAA, and that's Recording Industry Association of America.
The song single Suddenly scored Ocean 2 Grammy Award nominations and actually won the Grammy Award for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance at the 1985 Grammy Awards. Suddenly also became a success, peaking at number 4 in both the US and the UK, and the song Loverboy peaked at number 2 in the US in 1985.
And in 1986, his album Love Zone also was successful. It included the familiar single hits When the Going Gets Tough,
The tough get going.
which was at number 1 in the UK and number 2 in the US, as well as the melodic ballad There'll Be Sad Songs to Make You Cry, which also hit number 1 here in the US. Also, it was also a huge success in the UK.
Okay.
There's also the title track Love is Forever, which ranked well on the music charts. But more noteworthy, it earned Billy Ocean a second nomination for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance at the 1987 Grammy Awards.
Oh my gosh, that's absolutely fascinating.
Sure.
Just hearing and reviewing the many accomplishments that attributed to his global reach and success, I don't know, it really takes you back to that time and awakens vivid memories of not only the sounds of the time, but the actual overall feel of it then too.
Mm-hmm.
When you're riding around in the car, hearing those familiar tunes flow out of your speakers, or at sports practice, or at the mall, the pool during downtime.
Oh, yeah.
Listen while you're doing your homework like a good student with your Walkman. As many a Gen Xer can fondly recall. There was nothing like growing up in and experiencing life and fun in the 80s.
Boy, you said it. Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now, back to the show. Yes, when we were trolling the archives of our orchard, there were many fascinating entries from yesteryear.
Yes.
A variety of memories to revisit and explore to potentially help soften our daily anxieties we currently experience due to not only the pandemic we're experiencing, but with the natural order and processes on how life morphs and changes for everyone anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, we were carefree kids then with a whole different perspective than what we have currently.
Mm-hmm.
And many Gen Xers now have that family, life, and career load.
Yeah.
Bevy of responsibility that consumes and replaces the many moments of a much lighter, refreshing experience from those precious early years.
Mm-hmm.
As we learn and grow, this is a staple experience for anyone coming of age here on planet Earth. So, no matter what the generation is,
Yep.
it is and will happen predictably for the current younger generations now.
Oh, so true. That whole feeling, truly invincible.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could and would go on and on like the Energizer Bunny. You go along enjoying life and anticipating cool, wonderful adventures and activities almost on the daily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss that youthful, carefree outlook while, you know, seeing things in the future going forward. It was very intoxicating and it fueled many a fascinating experience for so many of us back
Oh, I'm with you there. You can say that again, Kennard.
then.
It did, which is why talking about this fascinating award winning artist today, Billy Ocean, with all his drive, commitment, and raw talent, contributed highly to the prime Gen X experience,
Yeah.
helping create a most nostalgic soundtrack for that key time in many of our lives.
Right? So not only was part of that nostalgia with Billy Ocean songs flowing over the airwaves, but there were a couple of his hits connected to a couple 80s throwback movies as well.
Mm.
Yeah, so let's go back to the hit song When the Going Gets Tough.
The cup get going.
Yeah. It popularly became the theme song and anthem for the 1986 film The Jewel of the Nile. So there was a bit of a hiccup though surrounding this collaboration. In February 1986, Billy Ocean's video of this hit actually was banned by the BBC,
Mm.
owing to such non-union members to the American actors and cast members starring in the film, which we know that was Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito. All three of whom were miming to the background vocals. So this is still the late 80s when videos connected to songs was a big deal. Again, the BBC, they banned it, but I think it was still okay to be shown and showcased here in the US.
That's classic.
I don't know. Do any of you Orchard archivers remember this video or how this song with the story around this was connected to the film? If anyone has a clear understanding of this or just any inside scoop, please give us a window into your valuable insight. We'd so appreciate your thoughts on this.
Yep. After all, it was the MTV era.
It was.
Everything was a video back then.
It was.
Also in 1988, Ocean's following album, Tear Down These Walls, featured yet another number one single, Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car.
Oh boy.
Which is probably most recognizable by standing as the official theme and anthem for the 1988 hit film License to Drive.
Yep.
Another hit 80s movie of mine. That's a favorite. And to steal a phrase from Kennedy, one of my 80s husbands, Mr. Haim, and you know why.
I sure do. And it's quite okay. We just won't tell. That's a retro gem that will also be featured probably in a future episode.
Yay!
Well, it is said that Billy Ocean walked away from his career at the height of his fame in 1988. So, not to imply he doesn't still enjoy delving in his passion for singing and performing low key, but he got out of the mainstream of the public eye to take care of some unexpected issues and enjoy what truly mattered, and that was life and family.
Mm-hmm.
So he quit his music career for nearly 2 decades.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, due to his mother's death from cancer in 1989.
Oh, that's so sad.
It really is.
That's just so sad. But, I respect and admire famous people who do this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that even though they enjoyed the thrills, the wild ride and the accolades of the success they ushered in, they're still very grounded in the sense of not losing themselves within the fame.
Yeah.
And that right there is huge.
It is huge. There was a recent article in Rolling Stone where it stated that even with all of his continued success around that time, and as the years flew by, the excitement of life as a major pop star diminished. So he was quoted as saying, and I quote, "I was a little bit disappointed with all of the success and glamour around me. It wasn't what I thought it would be." Pear-shaped. When success comes, you find that the people around you change a bit. Maybe it's you that changes. I don't know what it is. It wasn't like when I started, end quote.
You know what? That's deep. That's really deep.
Yeah, it is.
So even though he stepped away from the mainstream for a while, he has done some recording, new albums, and performances since 2006, when 80s nostalgia became big business.
Okay.
He was once again playing to crowds at festivals with other famous 80s greats like Bananarama.
Great group.
And not one of my hubby's favorites, Rick Astley.
Oh, that's a shame. Rick Astley's awesome.
I like him too. He really enjoyed being able to do that once again, since Europe remains his most popular touring market. Here in America, he plays big money, low profile gigs in casinos and the like.
Okay. Well, in 2009, he released a new album, Because I Love You, followed up by another album, Here You Are. Billy Ocean reunited and collaborated with songwriter-producer Barry Eastman, whose history working together went clear back to his Caribbean Queen days.
Ooh. Hey, Kennard.
Yeah.
We actually got an update on our earlier inquiry about Caribbean Queen and whether it had other versions of the song at that time.
No kidding.
Yeah. The answer is yes. There were lead-off singles. Caribbean Queen was also recorded under the titles African Queen and European Queen for different markets.
Oh, wow.
Helping it to top charts all across the globe.
Cool beans. Okay.
Very interesting. Now I think vaguely I remember that the African Queen was there, but the European Queen is completely a new one on me.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember that one either, I don't think.
It's so cool. A huge thanks and shout out to a loyal Orchard archiver for providing us with that answer today. And that goes to show just how valuable all of you are in making our weekly trek through the orchard smooth and most of all fun. Much appreciated.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And keep the feedback coming. We do appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's Billy Ocean up to now? Well, since Billy Ocean and Barry Eastman had a wonderful working relationship on many past projects, Billy asked his friend once again to help him work on new songs since the 80s to work on his current album, One World, which he worked hard on all throughout 2019.
Mhm.
You can check out this information on his official website. The lyrical works on One World pulls from a contrasting set of influences and offers a positive message of hope and joy. His original plan was to celebrate the tracks of this album on an extensive European tour during the summer of 2020.
Oh.
Yeah, but like everything else, the pandemic smashed the brakes on that until possibly this summer, summer of 2021.
Okay, well, here's hoping for that. And although he is 70 years young, at this point, Billy Ocean has no plans to retire.
Okay.
Shocking. He's quoted as saying, "The time or the thing I'm best at in life is making music. I intend to keep doing it." It goes without saying that Billy has both soul and class.
That he did. In recent years, I've heard a lot of people becoming familiar with cool throwback songs through more current media and pop culture. Like in some of the newer movies and TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
they'll introduce these retro excerpts, which is how a lot of the younger generations get to know some of these fantastic tunes.
Yeah, I noticed in a forum somewhere that some Gen Yers and other young folks got to know the song Caribbean Queen from one of the current shows like Everybody Hates Chris.
Oh, no, really?
And it's awesome that they become newfound fans of such a musical gem. But the nice thing about hearing ultra cool songs like this is because we actually lived through this time.
Yes.
And and we got to experience hearing this same song blasted out of our radio speakers and or Walkman. Even watch the video played out on MTV as current entertainment of the time.
I agree. There's absolutely nothing like it. Our firsthand experience and what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But as you mentioned, it's nice that the younger generations enjoy and appreciate some of these songs when they hear it now. So literally, like when they hear said retro hits, they get to experience the euphoria and trip of nostalgic fever these hits easily dial up. And why do you think this is, Coop?
Well, honestly, it's the sad but all too real fact that today's music cannot touch this.
Bingo!
A good bit of entertainment today feels and seems way more watered down and rushed as far as craft and quality is concerned.
Oh, yeah.
Can we say auto tune?
No doubt. It's pretty sad, actually. Because the fact of the matter is, good music takes you places.
Mm-hmm.
Much of the music of yesteryear sounds so incredibly euphoric, and many of Billy Ocean's songs exuded sheer electric that would get you up on your feet and jam to that infectious dance pop vibe, or usher in a soft romantic vibe with his infamous ballads.
And that he did.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was one of your favorite songs sung by Billy Ocean? Mine was Loverboy.
Oh, that's a good song. Yeah, I really, really liked Mystery Lady.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Such an awesome song, as was your choice.
Mhm.
So now to our Orchard Archivers. We want to hear from you. What were your favorite Billy Ocean songs or any nostalgic memories that go along with your choice picks? Did you and your puppy crush at the time dance a most memorable slow dance together to one of his timeless ballads? Did you get excited when you would hear his voice grace a top 40 countdown? If you do, let us know. We'd love to hear all of your fond memories and experiences.
Oh, yes. And more rock solid proof that the 80s was a brilliant era and will always be a favorite time for many.
Yes.
It's for sure one of ours. It's one of the best decades ever. We so miss the 80s.
Oh my gosh, we really do. And Billy Ocean contributed a great deal to this sparkling era, going down as a legend in his own right. And why can we say this? Because obviously legends or their songs never die. And that's it for this week's episode. To make sure that you never miss out on another second of our Carmelicious podcast, meet up with us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcast fix. Bye for now, and thanks so much for listening.